8 warning signs that your mindset is holding you back. Just hearing that title already makes something click, doesn't it? Because deep down, everyone feels that there's something invisible, hidden in the way of thinking, that might be holding back the results they want so much. And maybe you've already noticed, no matter how hard you try, it seems like you always hit an invisible ceiling. The truth is that this ceiling isn't outside, it's inside. They're mental patterns you don't even notice, but they control your decisions, your habits, and even what you believe is possible for your life. And that's exactly where the danger lies. A limited mindset doesn't scream, it whispers. It disguises itself as prudence, as realism, as it's better not to try right now. But deep down, it's stealing your energy, your confidence, and most importantly, the future you deserve. Today I'll show you 8 clear signs that this may already be happening to you. Signs backed by science that, once identified, become the first step to breaking this cycle. So, if you want to discover which traps of your own mind are stopping you from growing, and more than that, learn how to turn this game around today, stay with me until the end. Before we move on, make sure you've already hit the like button, but only do it if you're someone who loves personal development content. If possible, write this: I will become a successful person. Now, let's look at the first sign that your mindset is holding you back. Number 1, you always wait for the perfect condition to act. This is one of the most treacherous signs of a limiting mindset. It seems harmless, even rational. I'll start when I have more time, when I've saved enough money, when I'm really ready. But do you know what happens? That moment never comes. Waiting for the ideal condition is, in practice, a disguise for procrastination, a mechanism in the brain trying to avoid risk, discomfort, and uncertainty. Neuroscience shows that the human brain is programmed to seek safety, but growth only happens outside of it. In other words, the more you wait for the perfect scenario, the more you reinforce the idea that you can't handle the unexpected. The result? You get stuck in an endless cycle of preparation without real action. And here's the hard truth: you'll never feel 100% ready. Confidence doesn't come first, it comes during. Action is what builds security. So every time you notice you're waiting for the right moment, do the exact opposite. Take a step now, even a small one. Because if there is such a thing as a perfect condition, it's this: the present moment. Number 2, you repeat negative phrases about yourself. This sign seems simple, but it's one of the most devastating. Maybe you don't even notice, but the way you talk to yourself directly shapes how you act. Phrases like, "I'm not good at this," "This isn't for me," "I always mess up," may seem like random thoughts, but in fact they're commands the brain takes as orders. Science calls this confirmation bias. The more you repeat a belief, the more your brain looks for evidence to validate it, ignoring anything to the contrary. The result? Even when you're capable, you sabotage yourself without realizing, because you've already decided you can't. It's like carrying an invisible anchor tied to your feet. No matter how hard you try to swim, something always pulls you down. And here's the truth: every repeated thought becomes a mental habit. But just as it was learned, it can be reprogrammed. The first step is to notice your own words. Next time you catch yourself saying, "I can't," replace it with, "I can't yet." It may seem small, but it completely changes how your brain sees the situation, from a final sentence to a process in progress. And that opens the door to a new mental identity. Number 3, you constantly compare yourself to others. This is one of the biggest thieves of energy and confidence. Comparison may even start as something innocent, looking at what someone else achieved for inspiration. But when it becomes a habit, it turns into an invisible prison. Every time you look at someone's success and think, "I should already be at that level," or "she's better than me," you reinforce an internal story of insufficiency. And the problem isn't only emotional. Studies show that constant comparison activates areas of the brain linked to stress and anxiety, undermining your motivation. Instead of using energy to create your own path, you waste it all feeling behind in a race that isn't even yours. The detail no one tells you is that there will always be someone ahead, and always someone behind. Comparison is an endless ladder. The antidote is to change the measuring stick. Instead of measuring yourself by what others do, measure yourself by how far you've come compared to your past self. Ask, What am I doing today that I wasn't doing before? That's the only fair comparison and the one that really expands your mindset. Number 4, you have an exaggerated fear of failure. This is one of the most paralyzing signs of a limited mindset. The fear of failure isn't just about avoiding mistakes, it's about avoiding even trying. You create catastrophic scenarios in your head. What if I don't make it? What if they laugh at me? What if everything goes wrong? This constant what if fuels anxiety and makes your brain associate action with danger. The problem is, in practice, failure isn't an end. It's data, information, a course correction. But when your mindset turns any slip into proof of incapacity, you give up before even starting. Neuroscience explains, failing activates brain areas linked to social pain, so your mind interprets a mistake as a real threat to survival. But real life doesn't work that way. The people who grow the most are those who fail the most, because each attempt expands repertoire, experience, and confidence. The exaggerated fear of failure is, in reality, fear of judgment. That's why every time you feel that block, ask yourself one simple question: what will I learn if it doesn't work out? This shift reframes the experience and turns failure into progress. Number 5, you believe you don't deserve more than you already have. This is one of the quietest and most dangerous signs because it doesn't show up in obvious phrases. It reveals itself in small gestures, turning down opportunities because that's not for me, not celebrating achievements because it was just luck, or accepting less than you want because it's all I can get. This mindset comes from deep beliefs about worthiness, often inherited from childhood or past experiences, that say wanting more is selfish, or asking for recognition is arrogant. But science shows that the brain shapes behavior from these beliefs, creating a cycle of self-sabotage. You don't ask for a raise, don't show your work, don't take bigger risks, because deep down you believe you're not worthy of it. The result? You remain stuck in a space much smaller than you could occupy. Here's the key. Worthiness isn't about being perfect, it's about being human. The simple fact that you exist is enough to want and achieve more. So next time you think, I don't deserve it, ask, who put that limit on me? Usually it wasn't you. And if it wasn't, you don't have to carry it forever. Number 6, you seek approval all the time. This sign is easy to spot. Before making any decision, you need to check with someone. Before posting something, you ask if it's good. Before choosing a path, you wait for other people's opinions. Of course, hearing advice can be helpful, but when your life depends on external validation, it shows a limited mindset. In practice, it means you don't trust your own voice. And here's the problem. When you place your worth in others' hands, you'll always be vulnerable. A compliment lifts you up, a criticism destroys you. This creates a cycle of emotional dependence where you never feel enough on your own. Science proves the human brain has a natural need for social acceptance, but when this need dominates, it activates areas linked to fear of rejection, increasing insecurity and paralysis. The way out is to learn to decide for yourself first, and only then seek feedback, not the other way around. Ask, if no one were to give their opinion, what would I really choose? That simple question puts the power of choice back in your hands and strengthens trust in your own mind. Number 7, you hold on to the past as if it defines your future. This sign shows up when today's decisions are still being guided by past mistakes, frustrations, or even traumas. It's when you think, I already tried before and it didn't work. I've always been like this. There's no point changing. I always end up back where I started. This way of thinking is what psychology calls a fixed identity. You convince yourself that what happened before is a permanent sentence, not just a chapter. But science shows the brain is plastic, meaning it can change, create new connections, and learn at any age. When you hold on to the past, it's like driving while looking only in the rearview mirror. You don't see the opportunities ahead. The result is a cycle of repetition, not because you're incapable, but because you don't believe you can write something new. The turning point happens when you realize your past explains your story, but it doesn't determine your destiny. Ask, what did this mistake teach me that can make me stronger now? Turning the past into learning is what makes space for a different future. Number 8, you live on autopilot without questioning your own patterns. This may be the most dangerous sign of all because it's the hardest to notice. Autopilot is when you wake up, do the same things, think the same thoughts, and repeat the same reactions without ever stopping to ask, why do I do this? Science calls this cognitive economy. The brain creates shortcuts to spend less energy, turning behaviors into automatic habits. That's useful for simple activities, like brushing your teeth or driving to work. But when those automatic patterns start running your whole life, you stop being the driver and become just a passenger. Think with me. How many times have you said, "That's just how I am," or "I've always been like this"? That phrase is actually a disguised warning. It means you've accepted a limited version of yourself as final. And here's the risk. If you never question your patterns, they become an invisible prison. You keep reacting the same way to challenges, keep choosing the same excuses, keep repeating the same results. It's like going in circles, thinking you're moving forward. Neuroscience shows that 95% of what we think today is exactly the same as what we thought yesterday. In other words, if you don't create conscious moments of reflection and change, you'll be condemned to repeat your life, day after day, year after year. And that's exactly what limits your mindset, the absence of deliberate choices. Getting out of autopilot takes courage to ask uncomfortable questions. Is what I'm living really what I want, or just what I got used to accepting? Is this reaction I always have the best, or just the easiest? Does this routine bring me closer to the life I want, or does it just keep me busy? These questions may seem simple, but they're disruptive. They shed light on what was hidden. The key point is to understand that awareness is power. When you realize you're on autopilot, you've already taken the first step to regaining control. The next step is to create small reality checks. Change the route you take to work, read about something completely new, talk to different people, or even stop for a few minutes each day to reflect on your choices. Each small break in pattern is a reminder that you have the power to decide. A limited mindset grows stronger when you live without questioning. An expansive mindset is born when you choose consciously. Autopilot may be comfortable, but it will never be liberating. And if you feel like you're repeating the same cycles, that's proof it's time to take the wheel of your own life. Because in the end, the question isn't what if I fail, but how much more of my life will I lose going in circles? If you made it to the end, write this: I will change my attitudes. Because this is the big turning point. Realizing that the way you think isn't a sentence, it's a choice. Every sign you heard here may be holding you back today, but it can also be the starting point for a completely different future. Your mind can be your worst enemy or your greatest ally, and only you decide which side it will play on. Remember, mindset isn't something fixed, it's trainable. Each time you identify a limiting pattern and choose to act differently, you make room for new opportunities, more confidence, and results that once seemed impossible. What used to be a limit can now become fuel for growth. Now, send this video to 2 people on your phone, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I've left here on the screen a video you need to watch today. Click there, and I'll see you on the other side.